Thank you, Dr. Marianne Vedeler, for joining us on the Silk Road conversation this afternoon. Can you tell us what your discovery in the Oseberg ship burial tells us about the Vikings and the connection to the Silk Road?
It's very interesting to see all this silk in one single grave from the Viking age found in Norway, because it tells us that all the raiding and trading that the Vikings did, they went to very far away to get these silks, and some of them are from Central Asia and some of them from the Byzantine area, and it also tells us about, how the different traders met on their way and interpreted the silk in different ways, because we can see that it's used in different ways in Central Europe and far up in the north in Scandinavia, and that the patterns and the mythology laying in the patterns are used differently in different areas. Silk came to Scandinavia for the first time in the 9th century, and we know that because in the burials that archaeologists are excavating, we find silk for the first time in the 9th century. So I have studied silk from the 9th and 10th centuries, and that is the earliest silk ever found in Scandinavia.
Right.
And the Scandinavians didn't have the technology or the raw materials to produce silk themselves, so it's obviously imported from Central Asia and from a large Persian production area.
Was it through the artifacts you found in the Oseberg burial site that contained silk, or was it other places in Scandinavia you also found silk?
Silk from the 9th and 10th centuries have been found in 23 sites and in a total of 94 graves spread all over Scandinavia. So we see that it's some core areas where we found a lot of silk, and some silk spread all over, even high up in the north of Norway. It's also found in Denmark and Sweden and some places in Finland as well.
So the biggest one that was found was actually in the Oseberg burial site. The largest amount of silk.
Yes, the largest amount of silk, and also the most varied in one single grave. That is from Oslo in Norway, and there we have a lot of different kinds of silk as well. We have not only samitum or samite silk, but also embroidery made of silk, and they probably also imported silk thread, because we can see that textiles made in the Oseberg area or the southern part of Norway contains both traditionally Norse patterns, but they have also used threads of silk.
In your presentation earlier, you spoke about how the silk was transported from the east to Scandinavia, going through Russia and going through Central Asia. Now, did the Viking ships actually travel all the way to Persia to get the goods, or how did it all, the route that they went?
Yes, we don't know this, but probably the silk has gone through different hands and different people along the way. So probably people from both Scandinavia, from Central Asia, and from the areas between have contributed to bringing the silk along this way. The silk is only found in the very rich graves in Scandinavia. The richest graves contain silk, and it's must have been very, very expensive because we can see that in a grave like Oseberg, 2 women were buried with a lot of different objects, 15 horses, 4 wagons, a lot of equipment, and yet the silk fragments are very tiny and small, and they have been used first with the front side turning up, and then when they were worn, they were used on the other side. And that tells me that silk have been very, very precious at this time. Silk were probably sewn onto tunics and headwear, but we don't always see how this is done because the other parts of the garments are almost always gone. So it's difficult to see exactly how they were used, but probably they were used in tunics, used in life, and then when they were buried, the richest people were clothed in this material, and then it went from a garment used for daily life and were transformed into burial garments.
Right.
So that's why the Viking ships from Oseberg is the world's most best preserved Viking ship in the world.
Well, thank you very much, Doctor, for sharing your insights on the silk discovery in the Oseberg burial site.
Thank you.